Good day to all our senior high school students na talagang lumalaban makapagtapos lang. I hope that you are in good health condition. We are one in this battle. God bless our journey. This is Teacher Sharon and welcome to our class. Today I will present to you the most essential learning competencies of our subject. To recall, with the advent of COVID-19, so many changes have taken place, and in an instant. In the education sector, for example, DepEd provided a manual or handbook containing the most essential learning competencies, meaning that the number of learning competencies have been reduced in order to focus only on the most essential ones. Such a move was done so that it will be less difficult for our students and parents during the distribution and retrieval of modules, considering the alternative mode of delivery for public schools, the modular distance learning. In the senior high school department, we have this core subject called 21st Century Literature from the Philippines and the World, and there are 5 most essential learning competencies. However, the first one is split or divided into 2 because it has a broader coverage. So I will now read them to you. So we have writing a close analysis and critical interpretation of literary texts and doing an adaptation of these require from the learner the ability to identify A. The geographic, linguistic, and ethnic dimensions of Philippine literary history from pre-colonial to the contemporary. Representative texts and authors from each region. So, for example, engage in oral history research with focus on key personalities from the student's region, province, or town. Then number 2, compare and contrast the various 21st century literary genres and the ones from the earlier genres or periods, citing their elements, structures, and traditions. Third, discuss how different contexts enhance the text's meaning and enrich the reader's understanding. Fourth, produce a creative representation of a literary text by applying multimedia and ICT skills. And the last one, do self and or peer assessment of the creative adaptation of a literary text based on rationalized criteria prior to presentation. So all of these learning competencies apply to 21st century Philippine literature. So we have a historical or developmental approach on this as we discuss the pre-colonial era to the contemporary and other dimensions of Philippine literary history. Meanwhile, the competencies for quarter 2 are the following. Writing a close analysis and critical interpretation of literary texts, applying a reading approach, and doing an adaptation of these require from the learner the ability to identify representative texts and authors from Asia, North America, Europe, Latin America, and Africa. For most essential learning competency number 2 of quarter 2, we have compare and contrast the various 21st century literary genres and their elements, structures, and traditions from across the globe. Third, produce a creative representation of a literary text by applying multimedia and ICT skills. The last one, do self and or peer assessment of the creative adaptation of a literary text based on rationalized criteria prior to presentation. So there you go, the 9 most essential learning competencies for the first and second quarters of the core subject 21st century literature from the Philippines and the world.